Okay, so let's move on to some of the meatier topics here in the new standard. So, core principle and key steps. So the boards thought it was important that they lay out a core principle as they were developing this model to make sure that as they kind of evaluate all the detailed guidance that it's consistent with a core principle. Today there really is no core principle from a revenue standpoint, and that's why you have situations where you have similar transactions that may be accounted for differently depending on what industry they're in. So from a core principle standpoint, what they laid out here is that you would recognize revenue to depict the transfer of promised goods or services to customers. And that's based on the transfer of control of those promised goods or services. When you transfer control, that's when you recognize your revenue. Now the amount you recognize would be the amount that reflects the consideration an entity expects to be entitled to. So it's not the amount an entity expects to collect necessarily, it's the amount they expect to be entitled to, which could be more than what they expect to collect. And we'll talk about collectability when we talk about step one shortly. So the principle itself, I think, makes a lot of sense. I think where the difficulties will lie in many cases is actually applying that principle. And what the boards have laid out is a 5-step model to apply that core principle. And so if you look at each of the individual 5 steps, as we show them here on the slide, identify the contract with the customer, identify the performance obligations. So some of these, just thinking about them at a high level, they may not seem all that difficult to implement in practice. And you may have situations, you certainly may have situations where you have simple types of transactions where it will be easy to apply the model. But as you'll see, as Rich and I walk through the 5 steps, there are going to be a lot of, in many cases, there'll be a lot of complications, particularly when you have situations where there are multiple goods or services being delivered to your customers.